Not because we don't love each other anymore, because that's the dumbest thing in the world. If you're waiting for love to be around until, death do you apart. All this is some Romeo and Juliet garbage, by the way. You don't have to love anybody for this matter. You don't have to love. And love is not a prerequisite for a successful marriage or for marriage in Islam. You don't have to marry the sweetheart of your, high school sweetheart or I don't know, a college sweetheart. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You can marry a complete stranger and have the greatest life with them. And you can marry the person you've loved your entire life and have the worst marriage ever. And that, the facts in the world testify to the validity of what I'm saying. This is an advice to all the married people out there, all the married Muslims, that it doesn't have to be that divorce should happen in a dramatic warfare fashion. If a wife or a husband has an issue with his wife, it doesn't have to be that they get into a fight and they, during a moment of anger, he tells her you're divorced, and they go into this very, draining back and forth, wherein they get hurt. They wind up, they wind up dismissing the good which they had done towards each other. Suddenly, each believes the other is the most evil person on earth. They go into this expose where they expose their whole lives and their personal lives and their stories to the whole world, and they put it out on YouTube. And they make it like something for public viewings. And then the children are harmed and traumatized. And it's just ugly. It's just absolutely ugly. And that is not how a believer or Muslim behaves. We should try to conceal as much as possible. And if you think that if the wife, for example, believes that this man is not good for her and she doesn't want to be with him anymore, and he has done something wrong, she doesn't just run out of the house. She doesn't just leave and then, he has to go fetch for her. Is she at her mother's house? Is she at her friend's house? Has she been kidnapped? Has she been killed where he doesn't know? This is ludicrous. And a friend of mine had gone through this recently. Got into a fight with his wife over the phone. Came home, his wife is not home. Came home, his wife is not home. Calls her, doesn't answer the phone. You know how crazy this is, man? You know how devastating this is? If a woman believes that this man is not fit for her, she wants to divorce him, she wants to get a khula, she wants to depart from him. Adi, don't run away from home. Talk to your guardian and work it out. Tell him that you don't want to be with him anymore. Khalas, it can be done diplomatically. It can be done formally. It can be done with respect. Mutual agreement that we don't belong with each other. Not because we don't love each other anymore, because that's the dumbest thing in the world. If you're waiting for love to be around until, death do you apart. All this is some Romeo and Juliet garbage, by the way. You don't have to love anybody for this matter. You don't have to love. And love is not a prerequisite for a successful marriage or for marriage in Islam. You don't have to marry the sweetheart of your, high school sweetheart or I don't know, a college sweetheart. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You can marry a complete stranger and have the greatest life with them. And you can marry the person you've loved your entire life and have the worst marriage ever. And that, the facts in the world testify to the validity of what I'm saying. It's about taqwa. It's about both of you feeding Allah regarding the rights of each other. It's about compatibility. And that compatibility comes in a second. Al-arwahu junudun mujannada. The Prophet ﷺ said that souls are like soldiers. Either you're going to come together and agree, or you're going to just be repelled by the other person. There's no other option. Either you're going to feel comfort with the person, you click with that person, or you feel that you don't click with that person. That's it. And that can happen from the first time you meet. From the first time you meet, that one time that the man gets to see the wife, the potential wife, the candidate, he can already tell what this is going to go, where this is going to go. Unless, I don't know what. He doesn't know how to think. I'm not saying that you might think something and turn out to be something else, of course. But then that's everything. You might think you got the best job, turns out to be the worst job. You might think you got the best car, turns out to be the worst car. You might think a million things are the best thing or the worst thing, and it's the other way around. So yeah, you might think that you clicked with that person, then eventually you don't click. That's just from the unseen and from the future. No one can get involved. But fundamentally, Islam is very simple in terms of how we approach those matters. It's very simple. And yeah, I'm not taking away attraction. Of course, part of that click is being attracted. You know, a man looks at the woman and says, MashaAllah, Tabarakallah. Or he doesn't like the way she looks. Khalas. What, you're going to sit there and close your eyes for the rest of your life and hope you have fun? No, you have to be attracted to each other. Similarly, if the woman thinks that this man is not attractive, you know, leave him alone. Lest you sit there and spend the rest of your life checking out other men. And then, you know, you look on, those who have a TV or whatever they're seeing online. She looks at this man and then she looks at her husband and says, Astaghfirullah al-Azim, Ya Rabb. What did I marry? What kind of marriage is that? You see, that's what's going on. That's what's going on. So, I'm not denying the mutual attraction. That's a prerequisite for sure. But it's very simple in Islam. In terms of you clicking or not clicking with someone. As for this long relationship, long engagement, to long back and forth, then it's always ugly. Either they get married and they turn out to be the worst couple ever, or when something stops them from getting married, it becomes the worst kind of situation ever. Because now they've built up the anticipation all these years, and then, the father comes along and says, nope, I changed my mind, you're going to marry your cousin. Or, I don't know, any kind of obstacle that comes the way where their marriage cannot be fulfilled. They literally wasted years of their life sinning, disobeying Allah, talking, back and forth the whole time, and then it didn't work out. The devastation and the heartbreak is unbelievable and unprecedented. Some of them never recover again. No matter who she marries afterwards, she will always think about that first guy. And no matter who he marries afterwards, he will always think about that girl who he was expected to marry. So anytime you go against the basic, fundamental, straightforward teachings of Islam, you are digging your own grave and you're going to pay heavily for it. So don't say I didn't tell you. Mashi? So that's what it is in terms of divorce. If y'all not working out, it's not working out together, please, just be graceful about it. And if you don't love each other anymore, be patient. No love, no problem. There's something called respect. There's something called appreciation. There's something called faithfulness. There's something called gratitude. There are a lot of other important aspects of feelings and emotions that I believe are even superior to love. That are even more important than love. That remain there to maintain that household. That remain there to maintain that household. As for this love, this Romeo and Juliet love, it's all something you got from the movies. We know that the Prophet ﷺ loved Aisha radiallahu anha more than others. And we know that Sauda gave up her night, her intimacy with the Prophet ﷺ for Aisha because of how much he loved Aisha. And so there are lessons in that. I don't have to elaborate anymore. Now.